everyone, I'm Rebecca and I have some really exciting news to share with you all. First off, I hope that you figured this from this video, but we're finishing this dress this week. That's not the exciting news that I had to share. The exciting news is that I am actually going to be hosting a castle stay trip with you guys. I am so excited about this. This is going to be taking place August 7th through 14th next year, so 2026, in Ireland. And it's going to be a week-long trip where we're staying at Springfield Castle, and we are going to be doing different costumed photo shoots. We are going to all sorts of different other locations, like other castles as well. It's going to be so cool. I have the full information linked down below in the description. The group that we're doing this through is called Costumes in Castles, and it is hosted by Springfield Castle. And yeah, I am just so unbelievably excited. You can go ahead and sign up and express your interest even now. The email to do that will also be linked down below, because we do have to have a minimum amount of people for this trip to be able to go ahead. Luckily, that is only 10 people, and we already have a professional photographer booked and everything. Like, this is gonna be so freaking awesome. So definitely, if you are interested in this, please feel free to either email the host down below or send me a DM and I can give you more information. And also be sure to check out the website down in the description so that you can get all of the information on pricing, all the activities, etc. It is gonna be so much fun. Okay, I had to tell you that first, just to start right off, because I'm very excited about it. But let's get into the dress, because again, we are finishing the dress this week because I'm wearing it on Saturday. So it has to be finished no matter what state it's in. I'm wearing it. So when we left off in the last video, I was expressing my distaste to you guys about the fact that it was really too short over the sides. Like the robe itself, the gown, was too short over the sides. The petticoat was showing with the like contrast, the fake back showing and everything. So basically, I am extending the sides. I've decided it. I am using my fabric, I am extending the sides, and hopefully it's gonna work. So let's talk about how I'm extending the sides. Okay, so here's what I'm doing. I have seamed together two pieces, obviously the ones that I cut the little sleeve flounces out of. I have seamed them together down the center because I am centering this on a seam, so that made the most sense. Plus that should hopefully have made these stripes the correct width across from each other, because it's slightly narrower here than it is here because of the seam. So now that I've done that, I am going to lay the bottom of the skirt, which yes, look, it does match because this is the skirt now on there, on top of that, and I am going to draw out my like amounts that I need going down that way. So I do think I need to actually slide it down a little bit, because this needs to be 2 inches longer plus the seam allowance and the hem. So I'm going to make that 3 inches longer. Hopefully that should be enough. Honestly, I should probably go with 3.5 just so I don't have like the world's tiniest hem again. So yeah, I'll do 3.5 there. This is 7.5, and then it tapers out by the time we get to over here. So it shouldn't matter that I'm going across a seam over here, because it's going to go to nothing by the time it reaches this stripe. So that is the plan. I'm gonna draw in some new shapes and extend my robe. Okay, so those are now all pinned in place. So let's go ahead and try the dress back on, and hopefully that will have worked correctly. I now have even less of the stripy blue fabric left, so I don't know how much of the trim I'm going to be able to make out of that. However, I was kind of playing around with stuff as well to see like what might look good. So let me show you, before I put it on, since I have it all pinned on here, let me show you a little closer what I've kind of come up with, and then we'll put on the gown, try it out, and hope that that pinned in extension works. If so, I will then go ahead and hand sew it in. And once it works, I'll also be able to actually finish or start the hem on the petticoat as well. I haven't hemmed it yet because I was worried about this whole situation with the length. So yeah, let me show you what I've got going on over here. So because I have even less of this to play with, I have been thinking again about the kind of pinkish reddish. And of course right now it is looking, I feel like, more pink than red. And maybe that is because of having the stomacher here, even though I feel like the stomacher almost looks like a different color than that. even though it's the exact same fabric. But in any case, I was thinking like maybe I should just make the stomacher out of the pink, because then I could also use the pink on the skirt for trimming and it would tie back in. And the stomacher is going to have the gorgeous trim layered on top of it. I have enough of this that I can do 3 passes across the stomacher. So I was trying to figure out, well, maybe I should put some of the little motifs like in between those passes. And I was also trying to figure out, do I want it to face upwards like this, or do I want it to face down? Because I love the idea of like the point of the stomacher being the point of one of these as well. But I also feel like it maybe looks better up, like facing up that way. I'm not really sure yet. So I still have to definitely play with the stomacher trimming, but I do kind of feel like when we have the stomacher out of the pink, that the pink on the skirt tends to look a little better. However, I do still want to incorporate some of this. Now, this is too wide for up in this area, frankly. So I also went and I tried a little bit narrower. You can see that I didn't have the blue on the side here, and I made this out of a scrap. That's why this is so short, because I was like, I'm not going to be using a scrap to literally fill in, so we're going to do a test out of it. I think this is maybe too narrow for the skirt. It's hard to say, but I was thinking like have that along the edge, so all along the opening, up along the neckline, which this narrower width I think would do really well for up on the bodice, and then have this be in kind of a swirly S-bend look over on the skirt, and maybe find a way to incorporate this somewhere else on the bodice as well. I mean, if it's in the stomacher, at least that's somewhat incorporated. So those are kind of my thoughts. Let's go ahead and try the dress on to see if my little extension pieces here, you can see all the pins, if those are going to work and be the right length. Okay, a couple of my pins have come undone, but look, you guys, I think it's gonna work. See, it looks pretty like continuous, and once I actually sew it, I think it will look even better. If anything, I think I've actually gone a little bit long right there in the front. The rest of it looks pretty good, but yeah, the front maybe needs to come up a little bit. I've already turned the hem there, but yeah, oh, I'm so happy. That makes me really excited because that's gonna look so much better. Also, here's a little mirror shot of the stomacher. Obviously, I only have these little ones pinned on. I don't have like the big trim pinned on, but I do feel like it balances nicely with kind of an S wave of trim. So I think I'm going to try and prep the rest of the pink little stripes that I have to see if I have enough to go around the whole edge. And I'm going to prep more of these, the narrow ones, because these are the 2 1/4 inch wide. I know we talked about this last video, but I had originally made some that were 3 1/2 inch wide. These are the narrow ones. And I'm going to make those to be able to go around on like squirreliness. And maybe I'll figure out some other ways to incorporate them too. Maybe like a bow. Bows on the sleeves I think would be cute. Maybe a bow or 2 down there on the petticoat. I'm not really sure, but I feel much better about things now. So let's hand sew our little insets onto the bottom, hem those up a little shorter, and I still need to sew the trim, the ruffles and the ruching onto the petticoat as well and hem that. So I've been playing around with direction of this trim on the stomacher, and I realized that if I were to have these points face upwards and then these points face downwards, it just looked like I had weird like boobs or something right here with these in the center. It looked just really, really strange. So I don't think I can do that. And I really want a point to be down here at the point. So that means they all have to face down because otherwise I'll be left with the weird circular bits. So yeah, they are going to face down. That's totally fine. I'm debating about curving these over so it doesn't look like, I don't know, kind of weird half circles up there. I kind of like it when it's a little bit smaller. I could also do a bow or something up there, but kind of like it like that, I think would be cute, except, you know, more centered. And then to have these and then another row here, then this and another row here. So I think that I have to cut into this, which is like so scary. I am so nervous that I'm gonna like make a cut and either A, I'm gonna cut it wrong and not have enough to do the 3 rows, or B, I'm gonna make a cut and it's all gonna unravel. I really hope that doesn't happen. I will be devastated, but I guess there's nothing left but to do it. What I've done, by the way, is marked off where each piece needs to get to. So this is the top section, and this is where the seam allowance hits. And then this is the next section, the yellow pin, and that's where the next section starts and goes to this set of pins right here. And then the last bottom section starts here and goes to the other side. I don't need to go all the way to the seam allowance because of course some of this is going to overlap or underlap, I guess is the case. And so I don't need to go all the way there, but this allows me a little bit extra since I have that leeway. I'm basically going to cut in between where the pins are so that I know that I have plenty. Oh, and the reason why I put this part on top is because it's the part missing the least amount of rhinestones. This is actually missing a fair amount of rhinestones, but they're small. So like those little black spots, that's where the rhinestones are missing. By the way, looking at the back, we can see that some of these flowers, or really all of the flowers, they look like they're made out of really large stitching. So most likely those aren't secured within a flower. So I'm going to attempt to cut around or in between all of the flowers. Success! I know it looks weird over here. This is all off sides basically, so that doesn't count. That's why that is blank. And I'm actually thinking maybe I will do 3 of these across. I feel like it just looks more balanced. So I'll do another 3 down here, and I feel like that's kind of a better interim. And it makes these look a little bit less pointy up here as well to overlap them just slightly. But yeah, that's our decoration on our stomacher. Though I am still wanting to see what it would look like with the stripey. That is why I have not yet cut out the trim. And I realized like maybe I should try it going across. So like having the stripes run horizontally and maybe putting the trim in between. So I'm just going to kind of look at the general shape and see what that looks like. So I just did a comparison test where I basically laid down my trim pattern on, I guess it was 4 different possibilities of stomacher background. So first I had the pink, of course. Second, I had horizontal stripes of the blue and pink, with the pink kind of like in between the bigger stripes of the trim. Third, I had 2 pink stripes, so it was centered on blue. And fourth, I had the reverse, it was centered on pink. While I was doing that, I was actually then texting the pictures of those to my mom. So I'm gonna show you the pictures here while I kind of talk about this, but basically this is picture 1 with pink. And I texted the pictures to my mom, and basically she gave me her feedback, which matched all of my feedback. So that was great. This is picture 2, horizontal. This is picture 3, the 2 vertical stripes. And then this is picture 4, the like centered pink stripe. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts. However, I have already chosen it. So like your thoughts are obviously not going to sway me. Frankly, it's the pink by a mile. The horizontal was my least favorite of the blue and pink. And then second least favorite was the 1 single in the center stripe, which also like uses the most fabric and takes away the most from me cutting the pink stripes because it actually takes up 3 stripes, not just 1. And then the double stripe centered on the blue was my second favorite, but it was a long distance from the pink to that. So I get to cut stripes of ruching out of the rest of my blue. That is what that means. I have actually already decided that because I did want to spread out the blue ruching that's at the very bottom of the petticoat, which I've not yet sewn on, I want to spread that out a little bit, and it was looking too sparse. So the piece that I was using for those tests, or at least for the horizontal test, I've already cut a wider ruched piece out of that because it was this long, and I feel like that's probably about all I need for that petticoat ruffle. This is a much wider ruffle than what's going to go on the dress. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to cut out some of them as narrower strips and some of them as wider strips, and I don't know how much I need of each. But it's better to cut them wide because I can always cut them down. So I'm going to start at least by cutting like probably half of what I have out of the wider strips, because I mentioned this before, but basically it gets narrower as it goes up and around the neckline. So you don't need the wider strips to go in this area to go basically anywhere on the bodice. You only need the wider strips to go on the skirt. My idea if I can have enough of this, which I don't know, that's a big question, is to still be able to have enough of the pink blue stripey ruched to go all the way up from hem around neckline and all the way down to the hem again. I don't think I have enough. So we're going to see what happens. But that is why I am also planning most likely to add also the ziggly of the red ruching, or I mean, let's face it, it looks red, the pink ruching. But I posted late last night to my Instagram a picture of like pink stomacher plus the pink ruching, and on Instagram, all of you love it. You all think that it balances well, which I agree with, to be honest. But I also cross-posted it to Facebook, and everyone on Facebook hated it. So that's great, because those are people I actually know in person. Thanks, guys. So I personally agree with all of you, and not necessarily the people who commented on my Facebook. I think that it still does a better job of balancing, and frankly, I don't think I have enough of the pink blue stripes to be able to get away with just using that. Plus, now, if I did do the pink blue stripes, I wonder if the stomacher would look weird as having only a contrast stomacher. The other thing that I will do to balance out with the pink and like add more pink in various places is probably to do pink bows on the elbow, and possibly, if I can figure out what to do, maybe add something to the petticoat as well. Could be like a couple of bows. I'm honestly not sure. I also don't know now. I talked about in the last video using the like fly fringe, fake fly fringe trim that I have, and I now don't know where / if I want to use that at all. So I think that might be just like one of the last elements that I add if I have time, because here we are 10 o'clock on Tuesday night. I have tomorrow night after work, and I have Friday, because I'm teaching on Thursday night. So like, that's as much time as I have to finish this. I still at this point have to hand sew in the extension sections onto the gown, and I have to put the trim on the petticoat and the trim all over everywhere else. I did do the entire petticoat hem today, so that was great. Oh, and I have to actually like finish the stomacher, because right now it's just a piece of fabric. So now that at least I have picked out the stomacher, that should go together relatively quickly, except that all the trim has to be hand sewn on, because I could barely get my scissors through that trim. There is absolutely no way that I can put that under a machine. Honestly, it was much more difficult to cut than I thought it was going to be. I used my old fabric scissors. I've already replaced those scissors with new gingers, but I did use the fabric scissors because I figured it was a thinner blade and I wanted to try to get in between there, but I didn't want to use like my nice little sniffs, because cutting through gold bullion and stuff, which I mean, it's metal thread. It's probably not gold bullion, but cutting through metal thread is not a good thing to do to your scissors, which is why I use the old ones. So yeah, I'm gonna go cut a whole bunch of pink blue stripes and ruche those up and see where it leads to. Okay, so I have cut my 2 longest pieces as the wider sections, and then I have cut a whole bunch of short pieces as the narrower sections. Basically anything that's like 10 inches long or longer, plus my little test piece, are the narrower pink. And actually I realized that my test piece that was wide, I haven't actually done anything with that one yet. So I'm guessing that's going to be a short piece, because I did the math and I think I have enough of like the wide ones that it's probably okay. So yeah, I need to recut that one. But what I also did was this longer piece, I cut part of it wide, and then part of it I tapered down to the narrower bit. So this is going to be kind of like the top of the skirt, the bottom of the bodice, where it starts to come together and it starts to narrow out. So now I need to sew all of those together and figure out exactly where this test piece is going, because I did need this in my math, but I mathed it out with adding up all of these little pieces that I actually should have enough, a little bit more than enough, by like maybe 10 inches even, to do a 2-to-1 ratio gather, which approximately is what I need. My test pieces were actually slightly more dense than that. Basically, my little narrow test piece right here, this is 8 inches and this gathers down to 3.5. So it is slightly more than a 2-to-1, so it's probably good that I have slightly more available. But yeah, it's a lot of little pieces, like little pieces, many little pieces. So yeah, I'm gonna have to piece them all together. Hopefully it won't be obvious where I have all of the joins in the stripes. Hopefully the stripes will line up. But I'm gonna sew all of those together and gather them all up, and that should be enough to go all the way hem around the neck to hem. That said, I am guessing that I will still need some of the pink just because this was only gonna go straight down and I don't think that's gonna be enough trimming, but I'm gonna put it on the dress and we'll find out. Wednesday night update. I have sewn all of the hand sewing of the extension pieces. I feel like from this close-up it looks really rough. These pins are because I haven't yet decided whether the inside needs to be tacked down or not. I'm thinking yes, maybe like a tack on the stripes where it doesn't show so much, but not actually sewing it in between, because obviously every stitch kind of creates a scar, and I already have a bunch of scars down here and I don't want to add that many more of them. So if I do just some tacks on the pink stripes, I think that won't be so bad, but those extensions are now otherwise complete. The other thing that I've been working on today is I sewed together all of my little strips and I've run gathering stitches down them. I have ruched up this side, haven't yet pulled up this side, so it's all just one really long strip. This one I think I actually ruched up a little bit too much and it needs to be squidged back out just a skosh because it doesn't quite make it to the floor. But anyway, I need to ruche this one up, or pull the ruching of this one up and distribute everything, pin it all in place, and then sew it. It really does not add a lot. Like, this is what I mean. It really blends in, I feel like, with the stripes. So I do think that I am probably going to be doing that as well. And I'm going to be doing this along the edges and then that kind of in that swirly look that I was thinking of. So yeah, I still do need to sew those on. I have my extension piece right here to add on to that bottom ruffle, so I have not gathered that up yet, but I need to do that and sew that on. And because I probably won't get to sew tomorrow, I have one more day to do all of that, plus, you know, make the stomacher. I think I'm going to add a little bit more trim onto the stomacher, which, by the way, the stomacher I sewed around the sides, right sides together. I did leave a little gap to turn it through on the side because that's going to be hidden anyway. And so I did. I cut my corners and everything so that I could turn it, and now it's time to apply trim. And I'm thinking that I want lace up at the top because I feel like most stomachers had a little bit of lace. Maybe I'm crazy about that, but I do feel like I want a little lace. And then I was also thinking about using this trim right here, which is from the neckline. Because it's from the neckline though, it actually has a curve going for it. So I've tried to like steam that curve out as much as possible. And right here, I think is where I would cut it, that it would be centered. So I think that's going to work. It seems like I've gotten most of that curve out. It is a little bit longer this way than it is over here, but hopefully that won't be noticeable. But I'm going to apply the trim from the bottom first. So I'm really trying to align this with the very corner, and I'm trying to decide here. I feel like if I cut it actually on the edge where I need it, I risk like beads undoing itself. So I'm kind of thinking maybe I should wrap it over just a little bit, wrap it around the bottom, like cut it here. It's so hard because it's like, I really don't think I can cut in the middle of flower motifs. I can't cut in the middle of the little leaf motifs. That's the one thing that I've definitely noticed already. If you cut through a leaf, the beads come off because these are like tiny seed beads. So yeah, I have to like cut very, I don't know, meticulously. So like right here on the edge, this little flower is on the edge. So I can't cut right there, but I could cut it between these flowers, which has a tiny bit of wrap, probably between the leaf and the flower. I don't know. It's really hard to say. And then it's also like, if I leave this going all the way to the edge over here, that might be really difficult to pin into. Though ideally, if I have time, I want to do hooks and bars to attach the stomacher in because I just find that a lot easier. I know that more often they were pinned into place. I kind of hate that. It's like so much more difficult to get dressed, in my opinion. So yeah, it's like, do I cut it again here? Do I wrap it further? Do I cut it not quite there? I think that's a risk. I think I would want to cut it at least here. I don't know, it's a challenge trying to cut this in places where A, my scissors will go through, and B, I won't actually destroy the parts that I do want. Oh, and obviously in some areas it's like, yeah, this part is actually the edge. So this, I just turned in the fabric that was still there because this was the edge of the hem. And so this part, it doesn't really matter. And I've left my little like edges in there. I'm gonna whip those in so that there's no raw edges there, but I will have raw edges like when I'm dividing a beading motif into pieces. Okay, so we are not fully sewn on yet, but we are partially. Basically everything all the way up to here plus that are all sewn on. These little 4 motifs still need to be sewn on. I'm going to put a little bit of lace across the top, I believe is my plan, once I see what that looks like. And yeah, so this is what it kind of looks like on the back where I rolled some stuff over. Really just pretty much down here at the bottom. There's a couple of things that are like right at the edge over here. But yeah, this is the stomacher look, and this is what things are currently looking like. I think I am going to scrap the idea of using the ruched pink over on the sides over here. I have another idea that I'll talk to you about if I have enough time. However, it is 2 o'clock on Friday, and the event is tomorrow, so we'll see how much more I get done. As you can see, I've also pulled up the ruching on the other side of this. For some reason, this is feeling like I had more of it than what I have over here. This is not pinned yet, obviously, but like I pinned the spot that is the equivalent there, and I'm feeling like things are off balance. So I have to double check that and like really zhuzh it out and spread it out and pin it in place. I also do feel like it's still just a little bit boring having it just along the edge. As you can see, I did pick up the pink over here. On camera, it is again looking brighter. When I am looking at it, this is really reflecting a lot of the same colors here, maybe a little bit more like up here. But I do think this is a good way to carry in the pink, and I'll also fussy cut this and put this little motif on top of it. It's just pinned in place right now. So we also need to add engagements. Engagements are the little ruffles that come out from the sleeves. I don't have time to do nice ones. These are in my stash. I can't remember if they are off of a different project or if I got them secondhand from someone, because I know I've had this lace before, but they're already made up into like double ruffle layer engagements. So all I have to do is gather the top of them and hand stitch them in, like whip stitch them in, and those should be good to go. So I'm going to do that right now. My bows are literally 1/2 the width of the fabric each. I just divided that one strip that I'd used as my test strip in half, and then I sewed the ends together on the machine. I then also sewed the fold down. I know it looks off center, but it's all going to be hidden. But basically I just folded it. I folded like the inside in, the kind of the edges in, so that it would get this slightly shorter bow on top, slightly longer on bottom. And then that's going to get pinched together and wrapped around with one of the motifs. Once I fussy cut this, that's going to go around the center and get hand stitched on, and the hand stitching will also kind of pinch that up, and then it'll get hand sewn onto the sleeves. Speaking of the sleeves, I have also hand sewn in my engagements. So I gathered them on the machine, and then they just got whip stitched inside, really big stitches so that they can be easily taken out if I want them to be. I just figured I would do a little bit of a time check-in. It is 6:38 p.m. right now on Friday night. This event starts tomorrow at 5:30 in downtown Seattle. So there is a little bit of time for like a little bit of something beforehand, but not too much, especially depending on how late I stay up tonight working on things, which is going to be what happens. So at this point, this is what I have left to do. I have 2 motifs to sew still on the stomacher, 2 of the little like fussy cut motifs, just these 2 that are right up here in the center. I also have to sew on the lace trim across the top. I am probably going to put on another lace as well, because when I look at a lot of portraiture, like this one right here, we can see kind of like a wider, much sheerer lace up there as well. So I think I'm gonna do that, but that goes on the maybe if I have time list. I am also now in the process currently of sewing on all of my long pink shirred stripy bits down the front. I have most of it pinned on. I have about half of one whole side sewn on. I still have to pin and sew down the other side, and I still have like the bottom section of one that still needs to be pinned on, but I ran out of pins, so I figured I would just go sew all of that first, and then I'd have more pins once I sewed it. The ironic thing, of course, about that is that while I was doing that, I was watching Stephanie Canada's video on her like spooky dress that she's been working on, or that she was working on in that video, and she literally talked about that exact same issue while I was doing that, and I was like, yeah, that hits home. I also need to sew the bows on the sleeves and still do the fussy cutting of the little like rhinestoney bit on that. So that's a non-negotiable. The trim on down the front is a non-negotiable. I still need to add this into the shirred bit that's at the bottom of the petticoat and actually pin that on. It is still just like roughly pinned on from when I was getting the idea of what it looked like. So I need to pin and sew that on, same with the ruffle on the petticoat. So those again are non-negotiable things, all of which have to happen. Now, the negotiable things. Well, I guess there's one more non-negotiable, which is I really need to actually like try all of this on and, you know, make sure it all works together. That's very important. Never go to an event before you've done that. Like that is something that needs to happen. Frankly, I wanted that to happen today. I don't know that that's going to happen today. I think that might happen tomorrow. The unfortunate thing about that is that part of what I wanted to do was also see how much of this I can wear in the car, because if I can wear enough of it in the car, mainly the wig, then I can get dressed in the parking lot. Okay, so the negotiable items that I want to get done, I realize that my wig has seen a bit of better days and I would like to rejudge the wig if possible. That said, right now it is in a not very high hairstyle. It looks like this because this is the last time that I wore it, and it's not a very high hairstyle. Actually, it just dawned on me that's not the last time I wore it, because I also wore it to costume college after that, which is probably the problem because it drove down to LA and drove back. And yeah, so it's seen better days. That's what's happened. It's seen better days, and it needs some zhuzhing and some heightening. However, if I heighten it too much, then I can't wear it in the car, and then that's the next problem. I also would like, I think, to make the blue trim that is gonna do a little zigzaggy down the front of the skirt, or the gown rather. If I have time for that, that would be awesome. I already mentioned if I have time for that lace across, that would be awesome. What has to happen probably after I try everything on is that I would also like to either do hooks and bars on both sides of the stomacher, or sew one side of the stomacher into the gown and do hooks and bars on the other. That is obviously like the last thing that would wind up happening, because that needs to happen after I try things on, but also like while I can still try things on, so that I can put it on, try it on, see where they need to go, take it off, sew it, put it back on, make sure I did it correctly. So that's like the last thing. And actually, no, the very last thing is that I would love to add more of the little fuzzy cut motifs somewhere else on the gown as well, so that it's not just stomacher and on the little bows. I was thinking of adding them to the skirt trim somewhere, but I have several more of these. That said, I have also noticed that some of these are damaged. Like this one has no rhinestone in the center. Some of them are missing more stones than others. Like this one is missing 2 of the smaller stones. This one has no rhinestone in the center. There's one where the rhinestone is like not centered. Like the center rhinestone exists, but it is not centered. But I'm not actually even seeing that. So maybe that's one of the ones where it has now fallen off. Because I thought that was at the bottom. Oh no, here it is. It's this one right here. It has the rhinestone off center. Now, all of these rhinestones, I believe, are actually just glued on with a really secure glue, because there's no threads holding them on. I've been collecting a couple of random rhinestones that have like fallen off as I've gone, with the idea of, again, if I have time and if I'm brave enough, maybe putting like a spot of glue onto places where the rhinestones are missing, where they're more obvious, because there's a lot of them on the stomacher that are missing, to be honest. Oh, there goes that other motif. There's a fair amount, but because they're so small, I feel like they're not super obvious. Anytime that you see a little black spot though, that is a rhinestone that's missing. So like there's a few in particular right in this area. I'd love to add those back in if I have time. But because it is 6:45. I'm feeling like I don't have time. We're gonna keep sewing. Actually, that's a lie. I'm gonna take a dinner break. Then I'm gonna come back and keep sewing. And I am going to finish sewing the ruche trim on the front of the gown. That's like the thing that I'm currently in process of. So I'm just gonna finish that off. And then I think probably gonna do the bows next. And probably gonna sew a couple of motifs next to like ease myself in, give myself a little hand sewing break. Oh, the one other like negotiable thing that could happen is that I still didn't tack the inside of the gown where I had put the insert like extension piece. I didn't tack those into those stripes. I would like to. It's not a must do. But again, that is something that I would like to do. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to go eat dinner. I am then going to come back and work on sewing for the entire rest of the evening. We'll see how late I stayed up. I stayed up sewing till 2 a.m. last night and went to bed after 4. We'll see how much happens. But I'm excited where things are. Like, it's wearable, especially once I put the trim on, we're basically done. But there's more that I want to do because I want to make it even prettier. Naturally, while I was eating dinner, Miss Maisie pulled this off of my sewing table where it was at the machine and rolled herself up like a burrito in my silk, leaving little claw marks all over my silk. So that's super nice. Thanks, Maisie. I really wanted that. I'm sure it's probably more wrinkled than it was before as well, but like, what the heck, cat? So rude. Well, it is now 9:01 and the trim is finally on the front edges of the gown. A couple things are annoying me. I'm not going to do anything about them, but one is that this is really fraying a lot. Like, I had cut this with the scalloped rotary cutter, but like you can see there's all these little wispies like everywhere. I keep trimming them off and there just keeps being more of them. And I'm guessing it's just one of those things of like, silk isn't made like it used to be. So it frays now, whereas before silk was a lot tighter woven, like a lot tighter woven. And so when you would cut silk with like a punch, really, that's what they used, is they used a punch and it would not fray. And you know what? It's just something that we can't avoid in 2025, so yay. The other thing that's, I mean, it annoyed me as I was putting it on, hopefully won't be visually annoying, is that I definitely did my math somewhere incorrectly, and I wound up with much more densely gathered on the skirt than I have on the bodice. It's a lot less dense up here. Again, hopefully it's not noticeable, but it was very noticeable as I was laying it out because I was trying to have that like area where it starts to taper wider be around the waist. So there wasn't that much I could do. Actually, on one side, I think it's this side, I had to squidge it differently than on the other side. Like it should have had seams even because the two lower pieces were the same exact length on both sides. The rest of the pieces were all those little pieced pieces. But it wound up not being that because I didn't have enough to get there, so I actually had to move that seam up for some reason. I don't know if I didn't mark my center correctly. I thought I had because I had pinned it like a while ago. But in any case, yeah, it's a lot more sparsely gathered up here than it is down here. I don't think it's a big deal. And then of course the last thing, which is kind of the silly thing, is like I spent so much time hand sewing so many of the edges of this gown and it is now all completely covered over by machine stitching because I machine stitched the trim on. And I know that probably if I had had more time or if I cared more, I would have hand sewed the trim on. That's if I cared more. Let's be honest, even if I had more time, I wouldn't have. I would do it by machine. But yeah, it's just kind of annoying. It's like, why did I spend that much time in the first place doing the hand sewing? I should have just machine sewn that as well. So anyway, since that part is now done, I think I actually want to move on. Instead of going and doing some hand sewing, I'm going to save that for when I'm a little bit more tired, and I am going to start on the trim on the petticoat. So I'm going to take the petticoat off, lay it out flat, make sure that it is actually where I want it to be, because frankly I think I actually want to move all of that up just a little bit now that I've hemmed the petticoat. I want to kind of take that up the equivalent, so move it up a half inch, something like that, just so it's a little bit higher. make sure that it's actually even, nicely pinned, etc. Sew that on with the machine. So that's the next step. I'm gonna get to it. If I do get tired, I'll switch over to hand sewing of something. But otherwise I will save that last bit of hand sewing for, you know, like midnight or something like that. It's 10:15. The bottom ruche ruffle is on. Now it's time to do the top one. It is 10:45. The upper ruffle has been attached, and that means that the petticoat is complete. I need to take a little break to take Cookie outside, do my Duolingo, and wish that I had ice cream. Why do I not have ice cream? And then I'm going to get back to work on the hand sewing and finish up the little motifs on the stomacher along with the lace, and also put the bows on the sleeves. And then I think that will finish off all of the have-to-dos, right? I'm pretty sure that was everything. So at that point we turn into the want-to-dos. That said, I expect that between my break that I'm taking here and doing all of that hand sewing, because I am such a slow hand sewer, I expect that's gonna take us at least to midnight. So we'll see like how much energy I have after that. The wig, I kind of feel like I am going to leave to style till tomorrow, but that might be a bad idea because it's probably the thing that is like the most important to do of the want to do's. I just want to play around with the little blue strips and see if I can get them to like do the little zigzaggy thing, but I probably don't have time for that, frankly. So we'll see how much energy I have left. It is now 12:40. Whoops. But the stomacher is completely done. The bows are done and on the sleeves. So that was, I think, all of the hand sewing that I had to do. The rest is like that I want to do, which is the tacking on the inside of the skirt. I'm debating about actually just doing that right now. I don't think that would take very long. And to me, 12:40 is not late. I know that to a lot of people that's late, but I'm sitting here watching Bring Back My Girls on WoW and just like enjoying myself. So yeah, I actually have decided also that I don't like the other lace that I had been thinking about using for this. It was this really light pink lace, and I liked it for its kind of delicacy and sheerness, but it just looks super clashy, and it's really not tall enough either. It doesn't, I don't like it. It doesn't really go. So, I mean, if I change my mind, like when I put it on, okay, fine, maybe I'll add it, or maybe I'll add a different taller lace. But for now, stomacher's done. Again, I would like to add hooks and bars, but that can't happen until after I do the try on. Actually, I don't really want to do the tacking right now. I want to play with the blue. So I am going to take strips of the blue, which means that I have to cut some more strips because right now some of that is still looking like it has a pink attached or half a pink attached. So I am going to cut more strips of the blue, or maybe I'll just ruche one up because I do have two already that I think are the same width. I'll double check. But I'll ruche one up, see what it looks like. And then I've got two others that I can cut here. I swear I thought I had a third one somewhere that was already cut like this as well. I can't find it. So I think that all I can do are like basically 4 of these strips. It would just be on the skirt, so that shouldn't be too bad. But I want to ruche this up and see what it looks like. If it sucks, I won't add it, and that'll be easy. But if I really like it, then I might try to add it before tomorrow evening. So we'll see how that goes. Well, I squiggled up a little of the blue trim right over there. And the reason I pointed out is because I don't really feel like it's adding anything. So yeah, I don't think I'm gonna do it because if anything, it's blocking one of the stripes. So it just doesn't make sense to have that on there to me. I do wish that I could figure out more ways to incorporate more of the little appliques, but then again, that would just mean more hand sewing on there anyway. This is what they look like on the bows, by the way. I know I didn't show you a little close-up before, but it's just the center of the bows to kind of bring the stomacher over and give a little bit more of that lighter, like champagne pink to the bows. But yeah, I don't think that blue squiggly adds really anything, so I don't think I'm gonna add it. Maybe I could add more of the sparklies to the skirt, like to the petticoat ruffle, but again, it's like, do I have time? Probably not, because it is currently 1:10 in the morning. So I think I'm gonna attack the inner parts that are pinned currently in the skirt or in the gown, just so that I can get rid of those little pin places. But then otherwise, I think the only other main thing I have to do is the wig. So I'll do that tomorrow morning and then try everything on and see how it goes. And if I have time, I will add the hooks and bars on the stomacher. So it is 2 o'clock, the day of the event. I took a relatively leisurely morning, slept in, gave my dog a walk, actually gave both my dog and my cat a walk, and had breakfast, etc., put my makeup on, and now it is time to get back to wig. Now, the first thing that I'm concerned about with this wig is how much I can powder and pomade my hair to get it to match this, because I stupidly used a new dye that said it was supposed to be a light color, and it's not. It's a very bright red, which, like, I love this red, but it is very not this wig, and I should have used a different type of dye when I was dyeing my hair. So I need to powder and pomade my hair enough that it can hopefully blend into this, because the idea with these wigs is that you actually set them back here and pull your hair over the front. Otherwise, this has a really, really ugly, harsh front line. And I don't want that. So the other thing with this wig, though, is that, again, like, it's kind of sinking. Like, it's very far back. It doesn't give much height. This era, really, we want height. However, if I do it too high, then I can't fit in the car. So that is the question, because I know that when I wore this to the picnic, I fit in the car. I think it has gotten squished down significantly since then because of it driving all the way down and back from costume college. And obviously it has got some like loose pieces that need fixing anyway. A wig like this can be quite a challenge to style, to like redo, because we've got like all of these rolls that are probably all going to have to be undone in order to access this front area right here, which is where we want to add the height. So this is going to be a challenge. I am probably not going to show you like the actual doing of this because I'm also short on time. Again, it's 2 o'clock. I want to ideally, if I can wear this in the car, I want to leave here at 4:30. But in that amount of time, I also need to try everything on, make sure it works. I mean, God forbid it doesn't work. I should have done this earlier. Ideally, I would like to do some sort of like a getting dressed video while I do that. And also ideally, I would like to sew on the hooks and bars to the stomacher / sew it into one side. We're getting awfully tight on time for that, but I think it's still manageable. So I am going to take some of this wig kind of apart, see if I can get it to have more volume in the front. I'm probably just going to add some sort of a rat or foam something in there, and put it back together and powder and pomade my hair and see what that looks like. I figured you might like to see what is inside this wig from before that was making the bump. It is like net filled with hair and then more hair, and it honestly feels like there might be more under here, but I don't want to take it all apart. I think I'm just going to go in and maybe add something like this, or I've got kind of like longer ones of these two, and put it underneath here to give it more height, but still have it have like hair underneath so that we don't risk seeing this from underneath this hair. There's another color under here as well. There's like a darker blonde. This is all stuff that I've pulled off of like old hair pieces and had just shoved in here, but I think foam is going to give us more height more quickly. And actually now I'm seeing the problem. There was one bobby pin holding this up here, but look at that. It should be like way farther up. So I think everything has just kind of fallen backwards over time. So we need to get that farther up on the crown of the head. I set in like the foam rolls right here and pinned those down into that blonde addition that had been up there, and I pulled the blonde up and like re-secured it all over. And then obviously it's not covered up enough. I had put the net section back on top, but I also have this, and so I think I'm actually going to put that on top as well, kind of cover that a little bit more, and then pull the wig hair back over. So you can see that I now have the front, or at least most of the front, pulled back over, and the height difference is immense. It looks so much better. Obviously we still have to do a lot to the back here, but the other thing that I have to do is, because I've pulled this in a different formation, you are now seeing areas of this that are not powdered and pomaded. Frankly, this was not pomaded. I don't remember exactly how I did this. I'm really hoping it wasn't a white spray paint because I don't have like a white hair spray paint. So I am going to have to use powder on this, but I'm probably going to use a mixture of powder and hairspray. This definitely has the texture that it had been hairsprayed in the past. So hopefully that will work. But yeah, we need to tone down some of these other areas over here. I still need to pomade and powder my own hair so that I can hopefully blend it into this, because my hair again is going to come over the top of this to hide this awful hairline. Now that the front is looking much better, we have to address the back. I have taken off, I think, all of the like standalone buckles. That's what these are. I made these based off of a tutorial from Demode Couture. I believe this is also in her book. This is Kendra's book, but I made them before the book was even released. That's how old this original incarnation of the wig was from my court gown. So these are from like 2014. And you can see that they are quite shiny. You can tell what side was out versus what sides was in against the wig. I've got 6 of them. There's one hiding over here. So these are going to go back onto the wig, but I also want to curl the ends into kind of similar buckles, but probably a little bit bigger. And I do that using this, which this is how I made those buckles in the first place. It's just a piece of PVC pipe, and I just roll the hair around this and then bobby pin the ends. By the way, I'm going to do the powder and spray on this after it's all done because I really only need the finished areas to be powdered. It's just easier when you're working with wig hair, in my opinion. In taking the back down, I also found that there was a lot of ratting in here from some previous incarnation. I'm pretty sure this was from the first time I made it because I used Kendra's tutorial where you like basically have like chicken wire in here as a frame and you build the hair, like rat it around that. It's not a good method in my opinion. I do not recommend it. It's incredibly uncomfortable. It's much better to use soft things in your wig as opposed to chicken wire. Unless you're doing something really crazy structural, use soft things. So anyway, all this ratting I think was left from that. I need to just cover that up. There's no way that I can unrat it. So I'm going to cover it up with like some of the other hair that I have been able to take down, and then just kind of put buckles and feathers and flowers and who knows what else, ribbons, all over that to kind of hide what might be messy underneath. She has been recoiffed. She still needs to be sprayed and powdered. Hopefully that won't be too messy or take too long because it's already 3:15 and I wanted to have started getting dressed by now. So my technique for powdering has literally just been to take the powder puff with my cornstarch and kind of dab it on there and then blow off the excess. There's been a couple places where it just has not wanted to stick, in which case I've done some hairspray first. Like this, I'm probably gonna put some hairspray on and then put a little bit more powder on because for some reason this stripe, it's not wanting to stick. But otherwise we have powder really everywhere. This wasn't wanting to stick at first. I put the hairspray on, now it's sticking like too much, but it's also the shiniest part. That's the only buckle I used. The rest of the buckles are actually right there. This is all just the wig hair and I think it looks really nice. So this is really maddening. I have already put powder and pomade on my hair, at least some. And as you can see, they are so different. So I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. Although this is not pinned in, this is why I don't wear this as a hard front, because it is such a hard front. Like it looks really ridiculous. And because I have a widow's peak too, it's like a hard front's never really gonna look good on me. And again, it's not pinned, but like this wig does not come down all the way to over here. So I'm feeling rather screwed because I'm supposed to leave here in a half hour. I haven't even tested to see if I could get this in the car, but it looks like garbage. Okay, so new plan is this is the Joe/Rose wig. It is a pretty close match to my hair. I know that my hair still looks a little redder, but I have put the donut like foam thing plus an entire yaki braid up in here under a hairnet, and then I've pulled up some of the wig hair and I am going to put my hair there as well, which is a much better blend with this wig. Again, I still think it looks red on camera. And then I'm just going to pin up parts and it's going to look maybe a little bit prom dressy or a little bit messy, but it at least won't look like a completely different color to my hair. All right, hair is sorted. I basically pinned it all into my head, so, you know, hopefully it's secure, and I would have to redo it completely again to do this again. I'm gonna put the feathers on when I get there because I really won't fit in the car with feathers, but I did put a couple of flowers and a little pearl strand on there. And now I'm gonna get dressed really quickly because I was supposed to have left 13 minutes ago and go off to the event and hopefully be able to shoot finished footage there. I was intending to shoot a reveal here so that I didn't have to bring this camera along, But I guess I'm bringing the camera along and we're gonna shoot it there. So I hope I survive the car ride with this hair. And I hope that it's pinned in securely. I'm gonna bring a lot more hairpins, but yeah, here we go. So that was a really wonderful event. I had such a fun time. I did get there late because of my whole wig fiasco and then also traffic. I think I got there about 40 minutes late. Luckily it was at the same time as a group of my friends going in as well, so that actually worked out serendipitously. So I did miss part of the, I think there was a trio that had been performing before dinner. I did miss part of that. But then I got in and we had dinner, we had the keynote speaker, and then we had all of the dancing, which was so much fun. I think I danced all but like 2 dances, so my feet are killing me. But honestly, like I'm so happy about everything about the whole event. I did somehow fit in the car like this with the grand peignet and everything. I'm a little bit flabbergasted that I was able to do that. I don't know how that was possible. I mean, I guess the reason it was possible is because this really like can squeeze up like this. And so it actually worked really well. I did have the feathers out. I added them when I got there, so you don't get to see the feathers, and they did not get to be in my footage that I took at home, which I know was none of for you. That was Instagram footage because I was in such a rush that and also, let's be honest, this house isn't big enough for this dress. So hopefully the footage that you got was okay. I know it wasn't a lot. I realized as I was like walking back to the car and the whole robe was just like billowing out behind me down on the sidewalk, like as I'm walking down a hill, and I was like, oh, I wish that someone could have been filming this because it looks so cool, I'll bet. But it was dark and I was by myself and no one was filming me, so there you go. But it was very fun to wear. I got a lot of compliments, especially on the stomacher. I'm really proud of the work that I did, particularly on the stomacher. I'm realizing right now that I am coming unpinned here because I did not have time to do the hooks and bars. I will add those before I wind up wearing this again because I do just find that to be a lot easier. The other thing that I'm gonna have to do is that this is just fraying like nobody's business, which is driving me crazy. I mean, I mentioned it before that this was happening, but it's really bad. Like, I don't think I've had a silk fray this badly before, so that's really annoying because I know that if I were to try and treat this with fray check, that you would see that everywhere. Like, this is the type of silk that spots even with water, so let alone fray check, that would not look very good. So I'll probably just trim it all off, but it's annoying that it's happening because I feel like it is definitely detracting from the gown by having all of those fuzzies everywhere. But other than that, honestly, I am quite happy with it. I think that another thing that I will do is probably add more of the little sparkly motifs into the upper petticoat ruffle, like where it is sewn down. It's something that I wanted to do but didn't have time to, and really only thought about it like last night as I was kind of playing with trims. And frankly, next time I'm in the fabric district, it's possible that I might get more of this in order to cut more of like the stripy bits so that I can then squiggle them down the skirt. I don't know if it will be 100% worth it, but like I figure I'll probably only need a yard or two to do that, and I'll most likely want to wear this dress again because it is really, really fun and I really enjoyed wearing it otherwise. And I also will probably be making more Robe a la Francaises in the future. I don't know for when, but I have the fabric for it, so yeah, I've got the other fabrics that I debated about using for this project. But yeah, I think that's really everything on this. Oh, actually, looking at the monitor right now, the one other thing that I thought was weird is that I feel like the bows are just so inset, and the ruffles as well. It's like, it almost feels like everything should be shifted a little bit this way. This is apparently how they did it because it's supposed to be like in the crook of the elbow, but then you don't see it when your arms are bent. And I feel like it should be here. That's a lot to unsew and resew, so I don't know 100% if I will do it, but it's tempting. So I might, like, especially if I do add more trim, I might do that at the same time and just move that all around. But yeah, frankly, otherwise it was great. It was so fun. It was great to dance in. It was, you know, felt easy to wear. I did feel like my hair was kind of slipping the whole night. Like it wanted to be more up here and it wound up like that. But for doing this last minute when that other wig was a total failure, honestly, I think this hair is pretty great. It looked even better with the feathers in it. I mean, you saw that in the footage, and yeah, I'm happy with the whole thing. Overall, I think this is a great project. It turned out great. I am losing hairpins just like all the time. I actually lost one of the roses in my hair and my friend found it outside and was like, "This isn't yours, is it?" Yeah, it was. But yeah, that's everything on this project. So don't forget, if you are interested in signing up for the trip, all of that information is down below in the description. Send me a DM too if you want, or send me an email about like any questions you might have. I may wind up having to direct you to the actual organizers, but I would just really love to have you guys come. I think that'd be so exciting. I'm really excited for the trip and I really hope that we get the amount of people so that it can go ahead. So yeah, let me know if you are planning to sign up for that trip. There's 1 month opening from when this video is published that you have to sign up. So definitely do that right away. You don't have to pay right away, but you have that 1 month to sign up for the trip. So anyway, if you liked this video, please go ahead and click the thumbs up icon. And if you'd like to see more videos like this from me, please go ahead and click subscribe and the little bell icon to be notified every time I post a new video. I do post videos here on YouTube at least once a week, usually with sewing vlogs like this out on Tuesdays, and sometimes with additional costuming or sewing related content out on Saturdays. But I post every day over on my Instagram, so please go follow me on Instagram. That's at Lady Rebecca Fashions. And if you'd like to help support all of the work that I do on my channel, I do have a link to my Patreon and my Ko-fi down in the description below, or you can send me a super thanks or join my YouTube channel memberships right here on YouTube below the video. I'd also like to give a special shout out to my Edwardian level patrons, Jean, Kim, and the Dowager Duchess Isabel Thompson. Thank you all so much for joining me today. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Happy sewing!